Hello, and welcome to Turtleneck Tabletalk, the podcast that seeks insightful conversation while promoting the growth of our community. I'm your host, Devin Roberts, and this is my co-host, Austin Rimple. And today, we are really excited because there's no guests, just us.
Just us.
And we're going to be kind of talking about our process on how we start the podcast, our goals and vision, and just all those type of things. So you've gotten a chance to see all of our episodes, which if you haven't already, make sure we've got a lot of great content and bonus content and whatever. So make sure and check that out. But we thought it would be cool just to kind of break down our whole process from the beginning of deciding that we wanted to start a podcast to actually starting one and just kind of our vision for the future. So
yeah, we're excited to get that started. And for those of you who don't know, especially, it'll kind of give you some more insight into why we're doing what we're doing. And I mean, it started when we met. I guess you could say that. But we both joined rugby at different times. And there was after a game, we just started interviewing people and having a lot of fun doing it. And that's essentially where it started.
You're missing some of the context. This is Austin just, the time when he needs to be talking and really hyping up a story, he won't. And then all these stories that aren't that interesting and whatnot, he'll just kind of like really put a lot of emphasis into it. So what happened was we've been playing rugby for a while. And I have a YouTube channel called Basic Bros Reaction. So check it out. We react to K-pop.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's us.
And doing the channel, I have like different guests come on and kind of react to K-pop with me. And I had Austin come on to do a reaction and everything. And we just had like really, really good chemistry and whatnot. Like we knew each other on the team and we were cool on the team. But when we did the reaction and actually had to like hang with each other, volley off of each other, we were like, we have like a kind of a natural like flow and everything. And so we,
somewhat.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's all right.
Yeah, it works. It gets the job done. And so we thought about
coworker thing.
Yeah. But so we had kind of threw around like, starting the podcast and everything like that. Like we should do that. And so we went on a road game for our last rugby game, and we went to Arkansas and we went and we dominated like we always do for the most part with the Wichita Barbarians.
Right.
Make sure to check them out. But we afterwards we were doing our socials and we had a place that we were all staying at, Airbnb, and we were like, hey, let's just go around and like, let's just interview people, pretend like we have our own podcast.
Yeah.
So as we were interviewing the different guys on the team, they thought that we were really interviewing them for our podcast, but we just had my phone and we weren't even recording it or anything like that. But we were faking it and everything. And we were like, you know what? There's actually like people came up to us like the next day and was like, hey, when's that podcast coming out? And and it was really good. And so we thought like, hey, there's something to this.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a fun time because it was, just guys being dudes out there, and it was
bros being bros,
bros being basic bros, But that was kind of where it was incepted and it was started. And then I think Devin kind of laid out some tests for me, to see if like he was actually down to do it as well, because he's like, all right, Austin, you can. I think it was that night as well. It was like, but you would do a podcast, but you wouldn't do Zumba with me or something like that. It's something like that. I was like, dude, I'll do Zumba with you. There's 100% no doubt in my mind. I will come to a Zumba class. Went to the Zumba class, killed it, and then I think we did a Basic Bros reaction, and then did a few more from then on, and then you were just kind of nodding me along. Hey, Austin, you said you were gonna start a podcast. When are we going to start a podcast? And it's like, I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it. And then eventually it happened. The tough part was just getting over the hump of starting it and sending out emails, one to Justin Rohrbach at Shocker Studios, who helped us tremendously get to where we are, because I was wanting to know what kind of equipment it would take to start our podcast and what sort of cameras and mics to use. And so I asked that, and we were just graciously let to use this equipment, and it has been a blessing. So from there, I don't know what to touch on from then.
So
but,
So Austin initially got the meeting set up because I think I just mentioned because I don't forget stuff for some reason, like and whatnot. And so we've been kind of throwing around during the podcast for months by that point and whatnot. And I think I finally said something to you at practice, and it really got you to like be like, fine, I'm gonna make it happen.
I think it was that and talking at the rugby banquet.
And so you met with Justin and kind of got this stuff. And I remember when Austin had talked with Justin, because I couldn't make it to the meeting because it was kind of like last minute and whatnot, and just being like, yeah, whatever, Austin. Like, I'm just thinking Austin just being Austin himself and whatnot, was just overhyping stuff and whatnot. And then I came in to actually meet, and it was like incredible. Yeah. And it was like, okay, we can actually make this work, because we had no concept of, we knew we need mics, we knew like that type of stuff, but like actually like putting it together and all that type of stuff, we didn't really have any real clue of how to actually make it happen. We knew what we wanted to do. We kind of knew a ballpark of what we wanted our subject matter to be, but we didn't know how to actually make it happen.
So boss man Justin helped us out with that as well, and just kind of helped us kind of in the steps of like, hey, you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta have a clear vision set out. Get it. You need an actual name. I don't think we had a name at the time we met with it, which was, in hindsight, probably there could have been a few steps that I knew were necessary that did not take place. But we just got started, and that was the most important part of it. But so we continued to work through a name, vision, what kind of podcast we were. We wanted to interview guests, and so we started to figure out what those guests were, and we decided between a bunch of different, were we just gonna do rugby players, were we just gonna interview dancers, were we just gonna do whatever, and we decided to do 3 athletes, 3 business people, and 3 artists for our first season. But
we had originally wanted to do more, and we wanted to do like 5 from each category, and we wanted like 5 different categories and everything like that. Like, we were pretty ambitious with what we wanted to do, but as we started to kind of set things up and kind of trying to work through stuff, we kind of had to start being realistic about what we could make happen and what would be something that would be challenging for us, but that was also attainable. That wasn't going to be
smart goals.
Yeah, we had to really hone in on, what we wanted to do, because like I said, it's easy to kind of come up with this, like, oh, we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah, I think there's been like, so many people who've had that conversation.
Yeah,
but dude, we should have a podcast together. Like, I've probably had that conversation with like probably a handful of other people in my life, but
to actually like implement it and to actually have like a vision and stuff, because we played around with what we wanted our tone to be, do we want to be like this serious, like hard-hitting like type of one, or do we want to be like really goofy where we're playing around? Like, I remember for a while we played around with being like Eric and Andre, like that type of a show type of thing, and just kind of figuring out what we want our voice to be was like a big kind of talk and figuring out what we wanted our identity to be. Yeah,
for sure. I know that I have so many cool things that I've been a part of here in Wichita that I was like, oh, but I gotta get them on to promote them, and I gotta have my club on to promote them, and then I gotta get this guy to see what he's doing. And I think that's where we were like, oh yeah, we gotta do it, kind of a guest-centered podcast, because there's so many cool people in our communities, and not promoting rugby of something that's helped us build relationships far beyond just ourselves, and other things, people I'm involved with at Wichita State, people you were involved with at Wichita State. Shout out to Wichita State, Woo Shock. And it just made sense to do it with guests of people we know to promote what they're doing.
Yes. And then the whole selection of picking our
That was
guests,
fun.
that was fun, but also
We want to get into that. Yeah.
It was,
Let's get into it.
The thing about it is that we are both pretty stubborn. I feel like we are both kind of like set in our ways. And so when we are aligned, it works out perfectly. But when we're not, it's like pretty challenging. And so that was what's happening when we were trying to select our guests. Because you think about it, like we both know so many people, and we have know different people.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're just like, oh, well, we're going to only, you know, interview 3 athletes, 3 art people, 3 business people, it's like, well, why are we going to use this person and not this one? And it was like,
this guy's cooler. Yeah. You know?
Type of thing. And so it became, that was pretty, it was at first, it was kind of challenging with deciding on our guests and everything. Cause it's like I said, there's just so many people doing so much interesting things and whatnot.
I think that's about when we also learned how to actually like get work done, because we would have a lot of conversations of just like talking over each other after someone said something slightly offensive to each other, you know, like I get a lot of work done, and sometimes Devin does work too. And he was like, what'd you say? And then we would argue about that for like at least 5-10 minutes. And then we were like, oh yeah, but we still got to do work, because it just it went on a whole tangent. And we're still getting better at figuring that out, but we have drastically improved from the start.
Yes, because it would be like one of those things where it would be like, Austin looked at me like weird when I said
what was
something.
That tone, Austin?
And so like, or, you know.
Why are you giving me so much sass right now?
Yeah, or Austin just sass. Like Austin just, you know, getting upset about something or getting fired up about something. True. And then I always tell Austin that I match energy. So if you start to get an attitude with me, I'm going to get an attitude back. And not only am I going to get an attitude back, but I'm probably going to get a bigger attitude than you have, type of thing. And so it was just kind of learning to communicate with each other in a way that we get our point across without, like, you know, upsetting the other person and type of thing. And so we had to learn that pretty quickly too, because like I said, we were button heads quite a bit to begin with.
There actually was a lot more than I thought of headbutting involved with the creation of a simple podcast,
which is fitting because, you know, rugby players.
You know, we butt heads, we scrum, we buck and stuff. If y'all don't know what that means, look it up.
Or come to one of our rugby games.
I was gonna say this Saturday at 1 p.m., but it'll be a ways out from that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then so we ended up, after long spirited debates of who we picked, and we ended up deciding, okay, you pick one of your guys, I'll pick one of my guys, we'll agree on one together for each of the artist, business, athlete categories. Mm-hmm. And so that ended up well. So then it just came down to scheduling, which we love.
Yeah. And so when we did our first podcast, which I believe was our first podcast that will be shown too, with Aaron, that one was very like, we didn't even have time to really think because he was only in town for 1 weekend. Mm-hmm. And so we literally had about like maybe like a week to try and like get literally like all our stuff somewhat together. Like we didn't have like kind of our set design kind of together. We didn't have like necessarily like, we didn't have everything because we were originally planning on like waiting a little bit of time and kind of like working through that stuff. But with a guest like Aaron, who, like I said, we just have this short time frame. We were like, we got to make it work while he's in town this weekend. And so I think that was, even though that was challenging, that was like really helpful for us because we literally had no time. We like met so much that I think we were meeting like almost every day that week of that interview, just to try and get things all together and make sure we were prepared and make sure he was prepared and just everything.
I think it might have, it personally for me, I think that was one of our best interviews though, just because of how much preparation went into that. And, but yeah, as far as other things, you know, like the set design was kind of, it got kind of thrown to the side a little bit just to make sure we knew exactly what we're doing, because there were glamorous plans of couches and Lego plants and an actual table, not a hypothetical one, you know, as the Turtleneck Table Talk we are. So, but yeah, maybe in the future we'll get that real table. So, but yeah, that really kicked it off well, and we were like, after that we were like, oh yeah, this is awesome. That was fantastic. And then we did bonus content with him after we talked about doing that for all of our guests as well. And yeah, I think that, and then we had moments of stalling between the summer, you know, when you were gone a lot.
You were gone a lot. You went out of the country to go build a bridge.
You were not dedicated to the craft of podcasting.
I was sorry. I was busy modeling, but that's okay.
It's all right.
We're busy. We have work obligations, but
there's stuff.
Yeah.
People got stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we ended up finishing out all of our guests, and now we're up to here. But that skipped over a lot of.
I know you just like to skip over a lot of stuff, but yeah, so we did that interview, our first one, and then kind of like literally, I think a couple of days, half a week after that first interview, you went out of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ecuador.
Yeah. Build bridges, and you know, doing
scanned area to build a bridge later. But,
you get the point, you know. And so you did that, exactly right. And so then we came back, guns blazing, and we were ready to try. We were ready to try and interview like 4 people in a week, and it was my fault. I knew that Austin had been, because we've been trying to figure out a way to communicate with our director, Justin, and everything. And I thought, you know, I was like, oh, Austin was like, oh yeah, Justin has all this time. So yeah, he said that he has, you know, plenty of time. So we went and scheduled like we scheduled like 4 interviews in like 1 week, because Austin was like, oh yeah, you know, Justin has all this time and everything like that. And, you know, Austin's really ready to go. So I'm like making it happen. And so like emailed Justin to confirm the times. And he's like, hold up, like, I'm busy. Like, I don't know what you thought was going on, but like, I have other commitments and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, thanks a lot, Austin, for making it up. And so then we had to reschedule all of our interviews, which was, you know, that's kind of like, you know, I don't want to say necessarily embarrassing per se, but yes, embarrassing.
It was because we were like, oh yeah, we got a podcast, guys.
Come on, it's professional. Week. We got all this stuff, and then it's like, you know, oh, actually,
we wear turtlenecks. We try to be professional, and rescheduling. It's not on brand. That's not on brand. And we trying to build a brand here.
Yeah. And so just kind of figuring out the scheduling with, you know, 3 people plus our guests. It was, you know, kind of challenging at first, especially when some guests are more difficult than others. I'm not going to mention any names because all my guests were pretty easy and we got them knocked out right away. But some other guests were a little bit more challenging to book and everything like that.
You know, going into the challenges section of this podcast, you know, scheduling was one of them, because scheduling 4 people at one time is a challenge. You know, it's hard to find 1 hour of the week that you can do that. But you know, we powered through. We I think went through about like, was it like a month or 2 months from like the initial time we tried to actually getting him on the podcast of my last 2 guests.
Your guest. It was I don't know. My guest, because like I said, my guests were just like, we were on it. You know, I hit them up. They were like, You know, I think blame does get passed to me on here for a good reason, because, you know, something I learned is you just call them. You don't wait on that text. You just, hey, man, you want to come on the podcast? Yeah, I do. Okay, all right, when can you come? I don't know, like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Okay, cool, let's make it happen. Bam, send the invite, we do it. And then if you text and then they respond a day later and you respond a day later. And then, because that's like one of the things.
And then that original time didn't work in the first place.
that's like one of the things that I talked to you about, and I think that that was with help with getting my guests and getting them just knocked out pretty early. Is that, you know, and it's like something small that you really wouldn't think necessarily would be that difficult. But it, like I said, scheduling was very difficult. Yeah. But I always made,
because it was all people we knew fairly well.
Yeah, decently well. Yeah, to some degree. To some degree.
Yeah, knew of.
Yeah,
pretty well.
But I just think that like making that phone call, as you know, as you, like I said, you might not think that it makes that much of a difference, but I think it's just makes it so much easier. And then from there, you can communicate through text and whatnot. But making that phone call for our initial thing, whether that was for filming the podcast or doing the bonus content, I think worked out. That was a learning lesson for us. That was like something that we needed to do. And then we came up with like a formal like little text message that we would send them to.
I did originally send that. Just for the record.
But I would do that after I made the phone call just to like let them know type of thing. Yeah. But yeah, so scheduling was one of the, like I said, that was one of the biggest things to like have to overcome, that was kind of not necessarily, wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, no, that wasn't what I was anticipating on dealing with either. I think mostly like the preparation of it. And I think always, you know, generally conversation comes natural. You can talk to someone as long as you're interested in them, which there's something interesting about everybody. I can say that, and I think that's true. But there were some podcasts we liked better than others.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure.
We had some discussions after that, but I mean, all of them were like generally like it was awesome to get them on, and then, you know, just learn more about our guests. Yeah. But yeah.
And then I think we touched base a little bit about it, but I think kind of going a little bit further into that is learning how for us to interact with each other and the guest, and to make everybody feel comfortable. Because I think that when you're just talking or having a conversation with a friend, or even doing a podcast or whatever, which we try to make all of our guests feel like our friends, even if they're not, type of
what
thing.
Does that mean? What does that mean?
You take it how you want to. I said it.
Not your friend. But you're just on my podcast to get me views. We're using you guys.
But I think just learning, that was one of the things that we had to kind of figure out, because once again, and that even goes into with our planning and our questions and stuff, because we don't like to have like necessarily all of our questions like written out on their phone and everything, or have paper.
Yeah.
We like to have it more be like a conversation and be more open-ended, but also going along with that, if you're having a conversation and you're kind of leading the conversation, that's fairly easy. But then you have to remember that you have a co-host who maybe might not know the subject as well, and they have to be included in the conversation. And so we had to really make sure, because there was a few times where, you know, it became almost like me and the guest just talking, and Austin there, or vice versa, Austin just kind of really talking to the guest, and then I'm out here just kind of like, hey guys, type of thing. And so we had to learn really having kind of an outline, so that like even like a pretty decent outline, so that we knew how to feed off of the off of each other, and to kind of keep the conversation feeling natural, but also having jumping points where the other co-host can jump in, and it still be a natural conversation, because we have like an outline. We know, okay, oh, Austin's talking to the guest about this, but I think that the next talking point will be this. So I can ask this next question after that, and it keeps the flow going, but it also keeps us on the same page, and also doing a better job as us being able to sense, oh, I'm kind of talking a lot. I need to make sure that I need to either shut up, or I need to like make Austin say something, or kind of like get him back into the conversation type
I think
of thing.
we needed to incorporate some like baseball signals for that season 2, you know, just like, and what do you think about that? And just start doing something, you know, sporadically, and then you're like, oh, so now I'm going to ask you this, and then we could do that. But, you know,
I mean,
that's a possibility.
Like you're spazzing. Like, it's like,
Yeah. So they wouldn't notice that, and they just be like, "Oh,
natural.
Austin's just doing something, he normally does."
Yeah, that's very true though.
But Devin would be like, "Oh, but that spaz isn't normal. I'm gonna pick up on that and add a question to it." So possible incorporations for season 2, and you guys to pick up on when he does something stupid. Nah, you won't really pick up on that because it happens
all the time.
But all the time,
Yes.
yeah. No, but yeah, it was that was a interesting challenge. We both kind of foresaw that, and we were trying to prepare as much as possible.
Yeah.
To not have that happen. Of course, it's gonna happen here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we just keep getting better at that as it goes.
Yeah, and then I think another thing that we had to do, and I call it like our like couple counseling that we do like weekly, where we kind of talk about like all of our stuff, like after a podcast, after we have stuff, like we actually will take a little bit of time and be like, how did that podcast feel? What was going on?
Yeah.
Was there any moments that you kind of felt like this or that or whatnot? And I think that was really, even though it could be a little rough at first, especially
we're gonna do that after this one too.
Yeah, like just kind of being like, when you did this, it kind of made me feel like this, or when you kind of, but
it is
like
couples counseling. Having
that conversation, especially early on, I think really helped us to be able to detect some of these issues and be able to address them and be like, oh, well, I didn't see it that way, but this is where I'm coming from. Now I see where you're coming from. So like, and it kind of helps.
It's legit couples counseling.
Yeah,
what it is.
like it literally, like but we had to like do that, especially early on, because there was like there was like some podcasts, and there's one in particular where we had to have like a really deep talk about it and everything like that, and have like it was kind of a slightly uncomfortable conversation, but like we had to have it to be on the same page about stuff, and to really hear each other out and to see each other perspective, because we have in our head how things are going and the different things, but that's like our vision. And we have to realize that there's a whole nother person.
Align visions.
And it's like sometimes
build
we might be a little
destiny you want to sail to,
or we're going to look in two different directions. So we need to bring it back
have
center.
Your goals aligned. Yeah. Inspirational stuff, and say like that, because it's true. Yeah. All that cliche stuff is true. You gotta be on the same path, and we're sometimes we're still. I might be on like a side road sometimes, or on the curb, but Devin might have just veered off a whole different street, but eventually we all get back on the same path, because that's what Turtleneck Table Talk does. And we got some things we're thinking about doing in the future, some possible dream guests, some things that we're thinking about, that possible merch drop. I want to tease that, but I also haven't really done anything with that, because I think that would be super awesome. Everyone always comes up to me ever since I've been doing Turtleneck Tuesdays, which is how the name Turtleneck Table Talk came.
Which I came up with.
He did come up with that, and I was like, yes. That we didn't even have another discussion about a name after that. He's like, Austin, I think I got it. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, Turtleneck Table Talk. Cool. All right.
I think that was like the first thing that we agreed on, like completely, with no argument, no like.
There was none.
There was just like,
that's good. Yeah, that's good. We're going with it.
I was like, we got a podcast now.
It doesn't even matter if we have a table or not.
No,
it's gonna be called Turtleneck Table Talk, which it is. I feel like that turtleneck and that like the syllables just work very well. If we want to dissect that further, we can, but
we don't need to.
We don't need to.
No.
So we're gonna keep it moving. But what were we talking about? I forgot.
We were talking about challenges. So we talked about.
Oh yeah, we can talk about cool stuff though too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, like nothing stopping us from that. You asked where we were at. Yeah. I was just telling you we're at challenges.
I want to talk about successes now.
Well, we can talk about successes.
Let's do it.
Stopping us from talking about successes.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go.
So we had some successes, like talking to people and learning about them. That was it. No. But I say that was it, but that was, I think, the main success of what we do, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone and see what they can learn as well and get promoted and see the people that we got on grow and build our community, our network with the bonus content that we're doing, which has been fun, but also there's a whole lot of challenges with that as well.
Yeah, that's a whole other
that's a whole other thing that we can dive into on that. But yeah, I think just doing what we do, man, promoting people through insightful conversations.
Yeah, like the podcast has been great. Like I said, just learning a lot, but I also kind of continuing on with like that bonus content. It's just been really cool to kind of experience a little piece of what our guests do and just to really see them highlighted in their own field and then trying to do some of their stuff type of thing is a lot of fun, because you see a lot of this stuff and you know, granted everybody can see and realize how challenging it can be, but you know, going out there and trying to do all this agility work with Andy or trying to learn some dance routines from Renee or Aaron, or learn how to DJ from
DJ Evlodi. Just call him DJ every time we talk about it.
Yeah, but just all that type of stuff was just like, it was a lot of fun just to actually be able to learn that stuff and to see them in their element, because you know, here, yes, they're talking about the stuff, we're learning about them, which is extremely cool, but to also see them doing what they love and seeing what they highlight, what they excel in, it's just really cool to witness. Like, you know, just kind of looking back and like, even as we're doing it, and like, I remember even we were looking, because we were editing some of the stuff with Aaron, and we being like, Aaron is just such a great teacher. Like, he's a really good teacher. And I like, it's just like really cool to like look back and be like, yeah, that's like why he is who he is. You know, he's the man.
What is it? The bad boy of Broadway?
Yes.
That's why he's what he is. No, I'm enjoying that part of, you know, doing more than just the podcast, and I think that's what's really gonna separate this from the field, you know. So we're excited to put that out as well, man, for you guys to see and hopefully partake in it. You know, if that's something that they do that they can help you do as well, like dancing with Renee, working out with Andy. Hopefully it's something that you can see us do and partake in it yourself. So, but yeah, it was just a blast doing that so far. So
so we kind of touched base about it a little bit, but like kind of like elaborating a little bit with future season 2, whether we like what some things
we are going to do an Eric Andre show. We're just gonna prank the guests the whole time and just I'm kidding. No, that was like, I think I really enjoyed what we've been doing so far. So I think just continuing that, maybe upping the caliber with the guests, you know, maybe getting like John Cena or something like that. That might be a dream guest for me.
Like who are like 3 of your dream guests? So let's put a little twist on it. So 3 of your dream guests for each category that we've already done.
Oh, okay.
Male,
that's good.
And female.
Male and female.
Yes, for each one.
For artists, I love comedians. I've always loved Will Ferrell. And who's the girl off Parks and Rec? The main girl.
Amy
Poehler?
Yes.
She's pretty funny on that show. And April's pretty funny on that show too.
Yeah, she's really funny.
That's what I would go for artists.
Okay.
Business, I'd go Lord Business from the Lego Movie, who also happens to be Will Ferrell. No. Business. Oh man. I guess I'm trying to think of like what business I respect the most, and then just take the CEO from that. Elon Musk would be really cool. I think everyone sees what he does with that, and just like everyone wants him on their podcast as well. So that'd be really awesome. And then female CEOs, not even CEOs. I don't know. I would have to go with my mom, who is a representative for Trades of Hope, and get her on and talk about that. But no, I'd have to think about that one too. I'd go with my mom. And then for athletes, I don't know. This one's tough because I got so many.
I know.
I got so many. You get more time to think. It's not fair.
This is what we have to deal with when we're trying to pick our guests all the time, because there's like so many great
There's
people.
so many. Yeah. Oh man, I like what Micah Parsons is doing right now with the Dallas Cowboys. Also trying to get into rugby, so I'd love to get, one of the big stars from there, Antoine Dupont. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but he wouldn't be able to really have a in-depth conversation with a language barrier. But he's a great rugby player. But man, I think it would be. It might end up just being like one of those older football players, like Jason Witten. Jason Witten, Cowboys legend, tough guy, real smart guy, and just someone I'd love to be like in the future, just with how they carry themselves. So I'm gonna go with Jason Witten, and for female, Ronda Rousey.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually don't know on that one. I would have to go with. I don't know. Let me think on that one. Oh no, I don't watch a lot of female sports, so
I was literally about to ask that. Yeah,
there's an issue on that for me, but I'll catch up with that. And there's a really talented rugby sevens player, Alona Maher. I would probably get her on because she's done a lot of cool stuff with just promotion of rugby with that. So that's what I'd go with.
Okay.
Now we got to switch it over to you. Who's male and female representative of each category would you want on as a dream guest?
Okay, so we'll start with like art.
Yeah.
I would go with Will Smith.
Will Smith. Okay,
yes.
That's good.
Been a big Will Smith fan for forever, and I had his back through everything. I don't care what he does. I got his back.
Oh no.
But yeah, I just
We're
think
canceled now. Gosh darn it.
I don't care. I will. But just because I think that I think he's just such a great actor. He's been able to play so many different characters and has such a diverse range, from like being comedy to action to drama and all that. So I would just be interested to talk to him, and he's just has a very interesting life and been through a lot, and even with like having the rap career and just all that stuff. Yeah. So he would be
artist.
Yeah, he would be.
I have to change my answer now.
He would be for my male, and then for my female artist, who would it be? Maybe no.
No, you
Taylor
can't think
Swift.
of it. Taylor Swift.
No,
Oh my gosh.
No, actually, yeah.
Would you go Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I'll go with her. She's got like
That's such a generic,
like
crowd pleasing answer right there.
Like I just think that the fact that she's been, because I'm like big into music, so I was gonna say a K-pop artist, but we'll save that because we would probably
say what you'd actually say.
I'd say Blackpink, but I think any K-pop artist would be interesting just because of their whole like training system and how they are viewed in their entertainment, and like how they have to be like held to like a higher standard. I think that would be very interesting. But I also Taylor Swift, just because she's still as impactful now as she was 15 years ago.
True.
And there's not too many artists that can say that they still have that same impact. And also with all the stuff that she's been through with musically and with beefs and all the stuff and all the things that I feel like she would have a lot of interesting things to say.
I don't feel like I've seen her on like a podcast clips,
Yeah. So she would be. So I'll go with that.
Taylor, come on the podcast.
Then what was it? What was the business? Sean T. He's a fitness guy. He does kind of the stuff that I want to do. So he does like those, not only the dance videos, but like the P90X and like all that insanity, all that type of stuff. So I would be very interested in like his story and everything, because he like started off as a backup dancer, and then just seeing him rise into being this fitness guru, and he has like a podcast, and he has like a lot of different things, and right now he's on a journey with bodybuilding too, so he does that. So he would be interesting for me. And then I think business, you know what, I think I'm gonna say Tyra Banks.
Tyra Banks.
She's a model, and then she was like in charge of America's Next Top Model. She had like a whole bunch of like different businesses too. Like she had like some like model theme park. I mean, I think it closed, but she was like, she's an executive producer for Dancing with the Star. So she's been able to take her modeling and start all these businesses and all these different things. So that would just be interesting as somebody who does modeling to talk to a business person who's been able to leverage being a model to being this mogul type of thing.
Okay. Okay.
And then for sports, I would say Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yes, a big Tom Brady fan. And just,
Why?
huh?
Why would you do that?
Because I have great taste. That's why. Like I said, I like people who's been through things and like, you know, little controversy, you know. I like that, you know.
Yeah.
And so
Justin just showed us the laptop of I'm guessing, is that your female athlete pick? Simone Biles.
Yes.
That would be a great podcast to get her on there.
And I'm gonna stick with our producer director, and I'm gonna go with Simone Biles just because she's the way that she's been as somebody who did gymnastics, or did cheerleading, and did like some gymnastics and stuff. I think that she's just an incredible athlete, and I think that it's not like the amazing things that she's been able to do, I think are kind of like underplayed, like how great of an athlete that she is, and the fact that she's potentially going to be competing again at her age is it's just something, because a lot with gymnastics, it used to be like, you know, once you hit about 20, 22, like you're done, like you're like old news. And to see her still continuing to do that, and also I think it would be interesting to talk to her about when she, you know, when she pulled herself away from the Olympics, because of they call it the twisties or whatever. When she pulled away, I think that would be an interesting conversation. Oh, for
sure.
Just to be like, you're at the height and you pull yourself back for your health and stuff like that, and to talk to her about the scrutiny that she had to face and how she was able to overcome it. I think that would be a very interesting conversation. So.
100%. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah. I just remembered when you said that about like, because those gymnastics girls, like they do really have their one shining moment almost, and then they're out. But I do remember I had a crush on like Allie Raisman, I think. So So I remember that Fab Five.
Yes,
so
yes.
You guys had your shining moment, but you're still in my head. So don't you even worry about that. But yeah, that's a really great group of people that you had on. And Justin, this shows why we should get a TV on the so you can put up your stuff, you know, and just show us what you're thinking. But yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You're looking through what else we had for questions. But yeah, those will be on probably in season. Let's give it 5. Okay. Season 4 or 5. Yeah. You know, we'll get the Wichita. We'll get everyone cool in Wichita. That is what we want to focus on. Yeah.
I think for now we want to stay kind of locally and kind of focus on our Wichita community. I know that we talked about, you know, wanting to not only continue to get new guests and everything like that, but to continue to highlight the guests that we have through our social media, and continue to do bonus content when our guests have things going on, fights, or you know,
you made it sound like it's just like a Street Fighter.
Yeah, you know, an
MMA.
He was talking about fight. No, he was talking about some underground fights and stuff like. Yeah.
When did he say that?
He was like at I remember.
That was like it's like kind
of underground. Yeah, I've been to a few. Of those underground. I know people. You know, I know people. I got connections, but
in that robot fighting underground arena. Yeah. No, that's good. We are excited to continue to promote, whether it be fights or dances or gyms, whatever it is, promote here in Wichita and continue to interview some cool people here from that. So we're really excited to show you what we have and continue doing what we do.
Yes. So I hope you guys really enjoyed our season. Let us know what you thought. Let us know who some of your favorite guests were. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll, maybe every season we'll invite one of our guests from the previous season back to
Yeah.
kind of,
Oh, that'd be fun. Like a little
just a
Survivor
little
thing.
type
Yeah.
of thing. So just make sure and continue to check our social media and whatnot. Season 2 will be right around the corner, and we'll still be having our bonus content, and clips will always be up and whatnot. But thank you guys for joining us on this journey. It's been incredible. If you guys have any questions for us or anything like that, let us know. Maybe on another podcast we can answer some of your questions and different things like that. But we're really excited for what the future holds for us and everything like that. And we're glad to have you along for the journey. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and make sure to follow all of our social medias. Turtleneck Table Talk. We're on all the different platforms. So just pick your poison and we'll be there.
That's right.
So thanks for joining us.